Welcome and thank you for joining into today's Positive Forward Motion. This is your host, Denise Scattergood. Each week I discuss a topic that is designed to help you get more of what you do want and less of what you don't want, both personally and professionally. My goal is to add value to others by sharing a topic in 8 minutes or less, topics that will empower, motivate, and inspire you to have more happiness and success. For today's episode, I'm relaunching my topic titled FOR, F-O-R. This episode was originally launched about 8 weeks ago as a reminder for us all to focus more on what we are for rather than what we are against. Because focusing on what we are for rather than what we are against is a powerful way to not only stay passionate and inspired, but it also helps us to make positive change happen. Being against something brings forth feelings of anger and frustration. And while I believe these feelings are helpful because they can create a spark that gets us fired up and wanting to make change, I've also seen that same spark of anger burn out of control, especially when we are focusing all of our energies on what we are against. I feel it is important to revisit this topic because right now the American people are rightfully angry at the senseless acts of injustice against Black people. I too am against this injustice, and my wish is that we forge forward creating positive change by focusing on what we are for. Please join me in being for justice, for equality, and making sure Black lives always matter. Let's stand together and be for positive change and becoming a better society. Let's work together to being for putting in place new resources and regulations that benefit those who have been systemically disadvantaged and neglected. I hope this relaunch of FOR sparks a reminder that when we harness the power of our anger and use it to spread our light of love and passion for human rights, equality, and positive reform, we can make great things happen. Today's topic is focusing on what we are for rather than what we are against. So back in February, I was at a convention in Las Vegas when I was inspired to do this topic. I met Amy and Matthew. They're a husband and wife team who own a Volkswagen dealership in Auburn, Washington. And a few minutes into our conversation, we connected immediately, and we got excited talking about all the positive things that we like to do for our organizations, our team members, and our community. And they shared an amazing story of forgiveness and the power of focusing on what they are for rather than against. So their dealership got involved in a fundraiser for a young woman who was battling cancer. The fundraiser was a super great success. Plus, they learned so much about the illness and how they can help. Then the unimaginable happened. It came out that the girl who claimed to have had cancer was not telling the truth. I was like, wait, what? Oh my God, you must have been furious. Well, they kind of smiled and looked at me and said, no, we were not. We chose to focus on what we are for and why we started to help in the first place. They shared that they focused on the good, like the money that was raised, it all went to research, how their organization and community was so much more aware about this illness and how to help. And they even offered to get this young girl into therapy and the help that she needed. Matthew and Amy never wavered what they were for. They were for helping others. They were for focusing on the positive. They were for compassion, understanding, and so much more. And, the world, geez, it certainly has changed since I was at that convention in Las Vegas. And right now, during this global crisis, focusing on what we are for is a good way for us to stay positive and to keep up the positive forward motion. And my challenge for you is that you change your against to what you are for. Let me give you a couple examples and a way to look at this. Rather than fight against cancer, how about we all be for a cure? How about rather than being against homelessness, we are for finding a way to help assist and empower others to regain their mental and physical health and well-being? How about rather than being against someone that is different than you, you are for diversity and embrace our differences with excitement and understanding? How about rather than being against unfair pay for women, we are for equal pay for all? How about rather than being against violence, we are for love, peace, and compassion? How about rather than being against those that break or do not follow our current quarantine guidelines, we are for leading by example? When we let our brains get lazy and focus too much on negativity, it grows in our mind and it makes us only see the negative things in life. Practicing positivity is not always easy. It actually takes work, but with practice, we can learn to focus on the good and give the attention to what we are for rather than what we are against. So, I have gathered ways to help you start focusing on what you are for and paying attention and letting go of what you are against. So, number one is focus on the good. Train your brain to find the good. Even if someone betrays or hurts you, just like in the story I shared, there is always good to be found. Number two, replace the negativity in your surroundings. So identify 3 top sources of negativity in your life. If it's bad news, well, then don't be against the bad news and keep watching it before finding good news, before finding positive stories. If it's a person in your life that you're against, rather than focus and complain about what you don't like or appreciate about them, find new positive people. And remember, like attracts like. So if you notice you have a lot of negative people in your life, you probably need to do some positive work on yourself as well. So I'm happy you're here listening to a positive podcast. If you're unhappy with your job or where you live, rather than being against it, that's not going to change anything. Write a list of what you are looking for in a job. What are you looking for in a place to live? And start working towards that goal. And number 3, focus on the present. You cannot do anything about what is behind you, but you can do a great deal about what lies ahead of you. So be for your future, not against your past. And number 4, avoid judging. When you judge others, you're against their uniqueness. So instead, replace your judgment with phrases like, wow, that's something new and different, or wow, they sure are different than me. Then smile and remember that that's what makes life so amazing. So be for diversity and differences in our world, because it really is what makes our world a wonderful place. And be for kindness, compassion, peace, and love. I am for positivity and know that it can be found in the darkest of places. Train yourself to find the light, and I promise you will find more brightness and light everywhere you look. If you would like a free PDF worksheet of this episode's action steps, you can find a downloadable link under each podcast episode on my website, denisescattergood.com. Don't forget to stay in the loop of all things positive forward motion by following me on Instagram and Facebook at Denise Scattergood, and you can find me on Twitter at Alert Trainers. To add even more positivity in your life, you can text the word positive to 313131, and you'll have special messages from me sent directly to your phone. If you like this episode, please review and share the podcast to help us spread our message of positive forward motion around the world. And don't forget to tune in every Wednesday for a brand new episode. As always, I'm wishing you continued success and happiness, both personally and professionally. And remember to keep up the positive forward motion.